I mean, for those that are about to, even come into the next class or are thinking about, putting in an application.
At 15 feet is when we start seeing fear of heights.
The first 3 weeks are going to be mentally challenging, physically challenging. You're gonna want to quit.
And it's very easy to see. They start pooching their butts out. The physical part of it is, it's bad.
You are gonna want to quit. You just have to be that strong individual that says, I got this. This ain't shit.
Today on Towards the Storm, students will fight through week 2 of their training. Week 2 is spent training at 15 and 30 feet instead of 5 feet during week 1. Students are pushed to the ultimate limit as instructors help to perfect climbing techniques, overcome fears, and teach new technical skills.
We're just finishing up off week 1, which is going up, around, down. You learn how to move on the pole. Week 2, we go to 15 feet. We still do the same stuff. It's up, down, around, up and down the pole. I don't know how many times, but we start stretching them out a little bit. And they just go into lockdown mode. I've had several kids leave day 1 of week 2. When they get close to 15 feet, they're done. They will not do it. But we're stretching them out. They get more time on the pole to get more rhythm, so they're trying to find their rhythm using their butt squeeze. They do get to be better climbers, but it's further, and then we start throwing in more repetitions, up, down, up, down, up, down, and it really takes a toll on their body. And they're already kind of suffering from week 1 too. Their muscles are sore, their back sore, their legs. Week 2 kind of brings that out in them more, and then we lay more soreness, more tiredness on top of it.
It was really hard. I wasn't that physical after 17, didn't do a lot, I was lazy. So it was hard coming up here and doing up downs all damn day. And that was rough. But, you got your buddies right next to you doing it, so gives you motivation to do it yourself.
We throw the ball around for just different reasons. The main reason we're doing it is to get them to shift their hips in their belt and work with 2 hands. If you're out there, you hear me saying 2 hands. You got to work with 2 hands. You got to do everything with 2 hands. So, got to catch the ball with 2 hands. You got to move your hips. Throw the ball with 2 hands. Oh, you better go! You better go! I put the stopwatch on them because they're tired. They're sore, they're hurting. If I let them, they'll take all day. So I start putting consequences to it. Oh, you better go. Anytime they don't beat their time, the time that they've already previously set, they got to do 3 up downs. 1846, 1709, 1619.
It did suck at first because when we did drop the ball, we would have to go all the way down and then we would have to climb all the way back up. That was a little bit of a struggle, but I think our PC came together and we got it down fairly quickly.
I'm dropping that time on them and they got to speed it up. It kind of brings them together too. They start having teamwork because they're all going to suffer if they don't get that time down below the previous time.
I think it just meant that even if somebody were to drop the ball, we all would encourage one another, like, hey, we got this. We're just going to get it next time.
Kind of a funny story. I told my mom about the school, and it was in Florida. It was called NLC, I think. And so I tell her, hey, can you help me sign up to this lineman school? And she sets it all up, sends me a link to call. And I call that link, and I hear a real southern accent. And I was like, where are you from? She's like, Georgia, right here in Georgia. And I was like, oh, the school's in Georgia? So that's how I ended up at SLTC, was my mom setting up the wrong place, but I'm very grateful that it happened. I started smoking weed at the age of 13. I was severely depressed, had a lot of anxiety from school. I get bullied a lot from my hearing impairment, and I had really big hearing aids, ones that went over your ear. So that was rough. So I found a way to cope, and that was weed. And by 16, I was doing everything in the book. I lost my girlfriend. You know, my family didn't trust me, and they were gonna kick me out, or I had to go to rehab. Going to Florida was my first private-owned facility. I did about 60 days. So I've been clean since January so far.
So now that you've been here, and I mean, like, what do you think of SLTC?
I absolutely love it. I love the guys I work with, and I love the guys I live with. You know, it's a lot of bonding you get to do here. You see all your buddies, like, you know, they're struggling, and you're struggling with them. So I think, kind of like the military, you go through a lot together, so there's just that bond you build. That's really awesome.
Well, for me, coming down here, I just kind of took that leap. Like, you know, I gotta get my life started, and this is what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna move down here, and I'm gonna climb poles. So you just have to just go for it. Week 2 was when I fell.
It was scary because she screamed. I thought, oh Lord, she's hurt.
I was climbing up the pole just fine, and then all of a sudden, my buck squeeze, I didn't have it on 3 and 9.
Can you fall? Yeah, you can fall if you do something wrong. Most of our kids, they'll talk about falling. They're not falling, they're really slipping, they're cutting out. So they'll cut out with a hook, and they almost do a belly flop on the pole. So their knee hit, their private parts hit, their chest. They didn't fall. They just cut out and straightened out onto the pole. I don't know, I wasn't looking at her. I had my back to her. I think she probably fell 10 or 15 feet.
And then I gaffed out, and then I was holding my buck squeeze open, and I dropped 10 feet. And I stopped falling about the 5-foot line. So luckily, I was close enough to the ground that Kelly and Shannon could help me.
The first thing I noticed when I went over to her is her belt was out of adjustment. So at some point during her climb, she forgot to adjust it. And it was a nice little tumble for her. But her fall taught the rest of my PC something. While she was gone, she had to go get checked out medically. The rest of my kids knew what 9 and 3 was then. Everybody was at 9 and 3. I didn't have to remind them ever again. Once they seen that, they were at 9 and 3.
So I have no fractures, no cracked bones, no broken bones. I just have severe bruising, but...
Also told me that this has not deterred you at all.
No.
Tell me about
and,
that.
I mean, they're thinking that now that I have fallen from being up there so high that I'm afraid to get back up there and go up the height. I'm not afraid of that.
The attitude, she worked through it, and she got back. Now she's back out there now. She loves to climb. But she knows how to adjust her belt too.
I was praying the entire time I was going to the hospital. Like, Lord, I hope nothing is broken. because I did not want to leave. But luckily it was just very, very bad bruising. So that's all that I had.
Like I said earlier, I think the mental part's worse. I think it's once you get that little twinge of pain and you're like, there's my excuse to get out of here, my back's hurt. And if you roll with that, then that's fine. Go somewhere else. We don't want you anyway. We want people that's going to finish and commit and never quit. We're never quitting. Maybe from the outside looking in, it looks like we're a little bit too hard on them. I think they need that. That's what the industry needs. That's what the industry is looking for, is some hard-nosed kid to come out there that knows his stuff and can get after it, and I think that's what we produce.
No, the expectations for you are really high up here. You know, if you're just someone who doesn't study or don't put in all the effort at the school, you ain't gonna make it.
All I look for in the character of students throughout the whole thing is, are you a worker? Are you a quitter, or are you gonna work?
And like, I didn't want to stop climbing poles at any point because I wanted to work on myself.
I don't care what they look like, how good a shape they're in. If they're a quitter, I'm getting rid of them. I also have kids come in that's kind of overweight, maybe not physically ready for this, but they're not quitting. And those are the kids that I want to keep. So I'm always looking for a worker who's not going to quit.
She is the star in the car.